Hello, Planet Earth. Welcome to my YouTube channel. We're at IDK, my BFF Jill 730.
My BFF Joe 730.
I'm Preston L. Young, wishing you warm salutations and congratulations as always. You made your way to the Buffington Post.
You are invited.
Alright, so tomorrow, November 23rd, 2016, we'll be getting our first issue of Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 11. And so in gearing up for my Season 11 coverage, it's time to take a look back at Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 10, what our characters went through, how the overall theme of the new rules and making a place for yourself in the world really affected each character, and kind of what I'd like to see from Season 11. And so everybody, I'd invite you to reach into your super gay Buffy bag and pull out your collection of Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 10, because it's out with the old ones and in with the new rules. Here we go.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days. The weekend comes, my cycle hums, ready to race to you. These days are all happy days. These days are all share them with me. Blue black, gray sky, yellow, blue. There's nothing can hold me when I hold you. Feels so right, it can't be wrong. Rocking and rolling all week long. Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days. Saturday, what a day. Grooving all week with you. These days are all share them with me. These days are all happy and free. These happy days are yours and mine. These happy days are yours and mine. Happy days.
So we've discussed before that Season 10 started off with this mantra of the new rules, and basically the theme throughout is making new rules for yourself, for the situation that you're in, and the decisions that you will allow yourself to make, and essentially just really being yourself and making a space for that to be okay. And they really do this with each character on some level. Some it works better than others, some were season-long investments that kind of didn't pay off, but at the end of the day, Season 10 did have a very strong theme of basically rewriting how your world works, personally and metaphorically, and kind of completely meta-ly. But before we get into all of that, let's talk about Dowling before I completely forget about him, because Season 10 almost completely forgot about Dowling. He's in maybe 4 issues, and I want to say he's really only in 3, but I'd be lying. He basically shows up in Season 9, and it kind of looks like he might be a love interest for Buffy. They agree to go on like this date that never happens because teleportation and vampire bites, and it's a whole thing. But yeah, then Buffy comes to see him in Season 10, and he's like, hey girl, let's just be friends. And so, I don't know, Dowling, I'm hoping that the fact that we did spend Season 10 a little bit saying that, oh, Spike has this new job. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my screen. I'm just looking at everything I've got to kind of cover. But we see that Spike has got this job with Dowling, like working for the police and the supernatural bullshit that they've got going on. But honestly, like, that's it. And so I'm hoping that in Season 11 we will have more of this job that they've kind of said that Spike has. But I mean, God knows how they just ignore the fact that Xander doesn't even work anymore. He's just been, like, how's he paying for his apartment, you know? Because he just, so far as we've seen, he just, like, hangs out and, like, plays video games. He doesn't ever go to work. And he's supposed to be in construction. I don't see him, I don't know. Like, the rent's really high in San Francisco is what I'm trying to say. Like, it doesn't make a whole, like, shit ton of sense. So yay, hopefully Dowling will show up and be a part of, like, whatever they've got in store for Spike next season, because we do want for Spike to have some independence, but we'll get to that later. Oh, I don't even have a photo of him. Oh, yeah, I do. Jonathan Yanka. I don't know where they could go with that. It would be interesting if they did go somewhere with that, but I don't know really how necessary this Jonathan Yanka storyline was. I mean, sure, Jonathan's a vengeance demon, but I don't know. It's almost like we're led to believe we're never going to see the vengeance demons again. I mean, obviously we could, just because of the relationship that he has to the property and to Andrew in particular, but since we know that that Jonathan's not really going, or that Andrew rather, is not going to really be around as much in season 11, it doesn't make a shit ton of sense that Jonathan would be in, because, I mean, the whole point of having him there is to bounce off of Andrew, so I don't know. But, yeah, I liked where they started with the Andrew stuff, and I thought they could have gone somewhere just different than having the whole vengeance demon thing. I mean, it was interesting. I just don't know, like, looking back, exactly how important this this Jonathan becoming a vengeance demon really was. I mean, I like the idea of there being kind of this, like, digital ghost Jonathan. I thought that was a lot of fun when they had it, but I don't know. Maybe it would have been better if they just kept it that way. I really want to talk about our big bads for season 10. I mean, obviously D'Hoffryn is the overarching big bad, but we had several big bads this season. Dracula shows up and kind of morphs into our big bad all of a sudden, but I mean, that's really just a flash in the pan big bad. But really, we had Arceus, and he seemed like he was going to be the biggest bad, and I guess technically he did for Angel, but like here, he was a pretty big bad, and it seemed like we weren't going to be able to, like, nail him down. It looked like he was going to be the big bad, is what I'm trying to say, and he wasn't. And then when the trio of evil motherfuckers came along, like, I don't know, in a world where they were scary and intimidating, it seemed like a good idea for them to be like a trio of big bads, but really I was never really terrified of the Siren Mistress. It works in the end because, of course, they're not really the big bads. Like, the idea that D'Hoffryn came in and basically said, "Do you want me to be your big bad?" And then they were like, "Yeah, come on, be our big bad. Come on, we'll let you even play with our stuff. Like, tell us everything we need to do." And that really is what the season is about. It's about just accepting D'Hoffryn's way. Like, D'Hoffryn, he is ancient. Like, he really does represent the old world, and his world is all about, like, getting power, and Buffy's is always about, giving power, sharing power, making sure that power is represented in the right way, which is what we see Buffy doing throughout the season when it comes to the council and her new council at the end of the season. Like, Buffy is all about spreading the wealth around. I mean, look at what's going on with Dawn. Like, even the property itself tries to give as much kind of agency and ability to each of the characters in their own way. And so the idea that D'Hoffryn comes along and we just kind of, we accept what he has to offer to us because we think that he knows this world better than we do. But I mean, we created this world. Like, Buffy and her team created this world, and we, the fans, like, created this world. And at this point in the fandom, we are kind of, it's almost like we're all writing this book together. Like, we are the Buffyverse now. Like, we're all kind of contributing to its success. Like, they have the Slay the Critics. They're listening to what you have to say, whether or not that explicitly turns into changing things for characters or not. They are listening to what fandom is still out there and reading the books. And so the idea that we would all see D'Hoffryn and we would explain D'Hoffryn away, just as Buffy and the rest of them explain D'Hoffryn away to Angel. Angel comes in and he's like, "Wait, who is this guy? Should we be trusting him?" And they're basically just like, "Oh, D'Hoffryn, he's a bad guy, but it's cool." Like, they know he's a bad guy, but because he's been there longer, he kind of is put on a pedestal. We think we should trust him for some reason. But the fact of the matter is, again, we've created this world. The Scoobies have created this world that they live in now, and they know it better than anyone because they know what they want from it. They just aren't willing to commit to that all season. Which is why, by the end, it makes so much sense that D'Hoffryn was the one all along, because he knows that these kids aren't going to believe in themselves, and he comes along and knocks on the door every time they do something wrong to remind them not to believe in themselves. Just like with Anyanka. He builds her into something that has to believe in herself, but only in so much as she does whatever he says, right? Like, if she starts thinking for herself too much, we're gonna have to get rid of her. And that's basically D'Hoffryn's worldview. And Buffy is like playing with all of these demons and demon lords and all this extra because the book is her responsibility on some level, and she gets that. But it's not until she realizes that she's been completely duped that she's willing to completely take on that responsibility for herself instead of deferring it to someone else. And D'Hoffryn's just super fun because, again, we as fans, just like them, we're so used to D'Hoffryn. Like, he's not really a threat. Sure, he's kind of a dick, but we like that from our Buffy characters, let alone our Buffy villains. Like, that's just the best, right? And so D'Hoffryn and the other big bads, they all really do serve a purpose, and I feel like this season did a great job with the way that they slowly introduced and drew out the D'Hoffryn storyline. It really did make so much sense by the time we got to it. So let's start with Giles. Giles, it's so lovely having Giles back, and I really love the idea of Kid Giles, but it's really hard for me to get behind Giles because they haven't really given him enough to do. I get that he's a kid, and I don't know, like, that only adds to what we were talking about earlier when I did my whole, like, where did all the swearing go? Like, Giles being a kid only, like, puts us back in that, hey, it's kid-friendly, you know? And so I feel like they could be doing some really, really fun stuff with Giles that may just not sell books to a younger audience, ? Or, I don't really know, but something about the way that they've been doing Giles, it doesn't really satisfy. There hasn't been enough of him. We got his little fairy girlfriend, but that didn't go anywhere, and basically Giles just learned he has to, like, deal with the fact that he's all, like, young, and maybe he doesn't have the same kind of authority that he used to in, like, the world, but he can now, like, have that authority literally over the world. I wanted more from Kid Giles. I felt like we could have done a lot more, but basically he just got reduced to doing magic with Willow or saving Willow, and then, you know, they gave him like 2 or 3 good issues to really be frustrated about his youth, but it wasn't enough of a through line to where that, I don't know, I didn't feel like there was any real payoff with Giles. Like, there was a through line, but I didn't feel like anything ever really paid off. I mean, sure, you can say that him taking on this job as, like, vice president or whatever of, like, magic authorship, you could say that's his payoff, but it doesn't really feel like a payoff. Like, it makes sense for his character, it makes sense for the through line of his arc, but I don't know, like, it doesn't really pay anything off. So but again, I really loved issue, I want to say it was 19, Freaky Giles Day. It was my favorite issue of the season. I love that relationship between Buffy and Giles, and I love when Buffy gets to, like, have a little bit of happiness for a change. Like, just having Giles back was great when he's a preteen, but hey, this is what I associate with Giles. Like, that was nice for her, and I appreciated that. And so Giles, like, I'm hoping we'll get something super cool with Giles, but I mean, again, since he's a kid, I mean, I guess he, like, got his money and stuff. I guess he, like, proved that he's himself and that he's not dead anymore. I want to say they talked about that in one of the earlier issues, but I mean, it's not like he would have to go to school, or I don't know what they're going to do with Giles in his, like, personal life, but hopefully it'll be interesting. Maybe the fairy girlfriend will come back. I don't see that happening, though. Now with Xander, we've got this whole Anyanka 3.0 situation where we were talking about Ghost Anya and how, like, is she real? Is she not real? And basically, like, Ghost Anya is like a shadow from the old world, kind of. Like, she's new, she's like new to this world, we find out, but she really is like just this thing from the past that Xander can't really let go of. Like, he does still feel all of this guilt about things he did in what is technically like the old world. Like, there's still all of these feelings and guilt and kind of a lack of forgiveness that he'll never really get from her, right? And so all of that is carried over into who he is now, and now that he's kind of having to deal with that, he doesn't deal with it. He doesn't really talk to any of the Scoobies about Ghost Anya. Supposedly he talked to Dr. Mike about it, but like, we've never seen Dr. Mike. And so the idea of Anya like being this thing that's like in his past, and then having Dawn kind of like break up with him and then be like separated all season, it's like, okay, well, he can't have anything from his old life in this new world. But eventually by the end of the season, when everything with Dawn just kind of like happens, he finds that, you just can't do things the same way. Like, he can't just keep harboring this guilt over Anya forever. He can't just keep picturing Dawn the way that she was forever. Like, he has to really just be in the moment and see how things go, and hopefully they'll go for the best. But at the same time, you can't just be afraid to go and live in the world that you live in just because the one you used to live in really fucked you up, you know what I mean? And so for Xander, that's a neat arc, but I don't know, it doesn't seem quite as satisfying as I would like it to be. But I guess really, even though you could kind of call Xander a plot device, he really is a character that we get to use for this really like extra long through line of Anyaka 3.0. Like, she was literally there for pretty much she was there in the very first issue. And so they use Xander to reveal like this whole thing to us, which is really nice. And we saw Xander in the fantasy world. It was so funny. Like, they did have Xander be funny in this season. And Xander and Dawn, like, they both had a lot of funny stuff to say. It was pretty good on them. There was one issue where Buffy herself said to Andrew about, waking up a pregnant robot last time she fell asleep around him. So, like, the humor has been good, and usually it falls solely to Xander, and Xander, like, he still held his own, even though everybody else is being very funny this season, which, I mean, honestly, they're always funny, but usually Xander gets all the funny, and this season he definitely he kept his, he earned his keep. Andrew's an interesting case, because we have Andrew, and he's always doing the wrong thing for the finger quotes right reasons. And in this season he does the same thing, right? Like, he takes a book, he's gonna resurrect Tara, he's gonna resurrect Jonathan, he's gonna do all this great stuff, and of course it's gonna bite everybody in the ass if he actually does it, because communication problems, right? And so, like, Andrew, he's always doing this, but then the last thing that he does is this. And then, like, the next thing he does is come out. And it's like, as soon as he is able to really be himself and kind of adjust to the fact that there are new rules for himself, because he's trying to assimilate to gay culture and all this extra. And so it's from that point forward, when he is just really being himself and making his own decisions, that he comes forward and he's actually there for us, because he's not so sketchy and not himself all the time. And so I feel like that was a nice thing. But then Andrew, aside from like bringing Jonathan back from the dead and like making sure that he gets turned into a vengeance demon, they didn't do a hell of a lot with him in like the latter portion of the season. So it's kind of a shame that we're not gonna go anywhere with Andrew next season, because I mean, apparently, like, they've been saying, hey, don't expect to see a lot of Andrew next season. So I guess it's fine that they didn't make him super interesting toward the end of the season so that we would miss him so much. But I don't know, it just feels like a missed opportunity. But I guess if they're gonna be shortening the book and introducing new characters, somebody's gotta stay in the background. So Womp womp, Andrew. But yeah, we had problems with Andrew and his super cartoonish guns, but at the same time, it's Andrew, so I can't really fault him for that. I did really like the issue where he and Willow had the heart-to-heart about magic and the ethics of it, and why we do what we do, not because it seems great, but because you've already invested so much of yourself into one thing, and, this is, him seeing the importance that Willow has about, the old world staying where it is and making a new life, which, of course, is what the season's all about. So then there's Spike. I just don't know what to say about Spike. So much of Spike is being defined by these, women in his life, right? And while I would like to say that in Season 10 he turns that around, he doesn't make his whole, life about Buffy, in that same breath, he kind of just reinforces that even more. I mean, sure, he doesn't put her up on a pedestal and see her as this other thing, but for the most part, in Season 10, Spike is very much defined by his relationship to Buffy rather than to himself. We got the Arceus stuff, which was nice because it's nice to be reminded that Spike's, he used to be a super bad guy under there. And sure, he's like Spike, he's our friend, and he's got a soul and all that, but I feel like that's something that they do with Angel a lot, and I can kind of see why they don't want to do that with Spike, because they do it so much with Angel, but they do it with Angel for a reason. They're vampires, And so I like that we did that a little bit, and we did go back to the rape thing, but really where Spike's new rules come in is just that he's living in the world. He is kind of like all of the other vampires and like all the new vampires. He is finally getting to really assimilate into this world. He's a full-fledged Scooby. He's around for all of Season 10. He's in, I want to say, every issue. He might not be in a couple, but he's in most of the issues. He's a full Scooby, full-time again. And he really is assimilating to human life by being in a relationship with Buffy, by going out and getting a job with Dowling, by sitting around and chatting with the other Scoobies. There really is something interesting about the way that Spike not only is, he always stands up for Buffy, but he really does finally have this legit relationship with Xander where they talk about stuff on a one-to-one level that's not super jerky to each other all the time. And that's super character growth when you just look at that little bit. And so really Spike, his new rules have been the rules that they're writing in the book. The things that used to apply to Spike no longer do. We're not gonna cry over the bathroom anymore. Old world. We are not going to let Drusilla and all that other bullshit try and cloud your judgment. We're over that, Arceus. It's nice. Buffy and Spike get to be in a relationship for the first time, really, because they're finally both almost on the same level. I mean, sure, Buffy's the Slayer and he's a vampire, but whatever. They both kind of know who it is that they want to be. And Spike doesn't necessarily want to be Buffy, but at the same time he does, and he does because even more so now, because he really does see her for her flaws and for everything. And sure, he said he did in the past, but I feel at this point, since we did have a little bit of friction between Buffy and Spike, they can argue. He can tell her, hey, this is what I don't like about you. And that's good stuff with his soul. And the Dylan situation, again, here comes this woman who's completely inspired by Spike, and, he can be an inspiration. He can be the source of his own inspiration. He can want to be himself. This person was, made better by her encounter with Spike, and that says something about him too. So then there's Willow, and So then there's Willow, and since I pretty much beat Willow up in my Willow intervention video, I won't be as hard on her here, because what they really had to do in season 10 was make Willow approachable again. Willow, because she is so grandiose, she's so very much, and she's so unattainable, she's like up here. She's way up here, and she's up there in season 8, and then in season 9 she starts off being like, I'm up here, but she's not, you know what I mean? And so then like she brings magic back, and it's like, oh crap, you're way up there. And sure, she's having a little bit of trouble with it here and there, but basically she's doing the job. And then in season 10 we find out that the magic is all new, and she can't really wield it the way that she used to. And what that allows for Willow to do is to bring her down to earth. It makes her just as vulnerable as the rest of us, if not physically, then just capably. Willow she's kind of been in our back pocket since season 6. Like, you could go to Willow if you had a magical problem. Or you had a problem, she'd solve it with magic. We have that all throughout season 8, and then in season 9, like, the problem is we don't have magic, and so now we have magic again, but because we're just trying to figure it out, it allows for Willow to just deal with the more personal things in her life, which is why we have her going into a new job, which is why we have her getting into a new relationship, which is why we have her getting out of her old one. Willow is just like she's trying to figure out this magic, she's trying to figure out where the magic is going to fit into her life, because she has an opportunity now to not be a slave to magic like she was in the old world. She has an opportunity to try and find this balance for herself within her life, much like Buffy is always trying to do. And so she gets into this new relationship after she decides, like, hey, I'm trying to figure out what's real, and all you, Alwyn, do is try and trick me, so that's not really gonna work. She starts this new job, and she meets this woman who is capable and strong and knows what she wants. And Willow, she very much wants to know what she wants, and Lake is a way for her to kind of to see somebody who is successful and who is out of balance, and maybe they can balance each other out. But at the end of the day, like, Lake's job is her job, and Willow realizes, like, oh, my job is magic, you know what I mean? Like, this whole time she brought this magic in, and she's off trying to work for the US military, and we get it. Like, Willow's life has to have some kind of semblance of balance, but Willow, like, stop getting knocked out all the time. And so I really do like what they do with making Willow approachable, and they make that make sense with the new magic. They have a good excuse for it, and again, it brings Willow back down to a level so that we can have that issue where Buffy and Willow kind of butt heads and then make up. It allows for Willow to not always have the upper hand, to not always be the one who is right, because they're both just trying to figure things out at this point, which is really nice. I mean, Willow's like always trying to figure things out, etc., but she's not so much on a pedestal anymore, because we just can't rely on her to fix everything anymore. And I love that issue where we have Lake and all the drama with Buffy. Like, it's really nice because we get to have that relationship with Willow and Buffy back in a way that feels so familiar and just comfortable for us as viewers, as fans, as a fandom. Like, just to be reminded that our characters really are close and have that much love and adoration for one another. It's just refreshing, because we can get away from that a lot of times, but season 10 has really kind of reestablished these relationships in positive ways for really everyone. I love, again, what Willow says to Andrew about having gone through the pain and invested all of this time in mourning and getting over, or trying to, Tara's death. There is something to be said about how much a death affects you and the way that you react to it and live through it. And for so many years to have passed and Tara to just like be back, it nullifies that pain, it nullifies that experience. And like that's the thing with like Not a Ghost on Yaka 3.0. Like you can think that you want this back, but it won't ever be what it was because you lost it. You'll know that you lost it, and it being back won't feel real. And I love that Willow gets to differentiate what she wants from what is right. And that's big character growth for Willow, you know what I'm saying? Willow in this season is not greedy with magic because I talked about magic in one of my Buffyverse discussions, but it's like magic is all of this like swirl of energy, and Willow can't just go willy-nilly and getting greedy with all of this energy because it works differently and she could really hurt people, and the fact that she doesn't write things into the book that are advantageous for herself is honestly something that I hope we will explore further as the seasons progress. Again, I'm really not sure how many seasons we are going to end up having over the years, but we'll see. But yeah, Willow, I was hard on her all season, but I like where Willow is now as of the end of season 10, and I want good things for Willow in season 11. So Dawn really is like the most representative of the season. Dawn, she comes in and she's like in the thick of it with the Scoobies. It's like brand new Dawn, literally, like we just made her the other day. So she's a brand new Dawn, and not only is she in the thick of it doing the Scooby thing, but also, surprise, she's like back on her factory settings. She has all of her memories, but she doesn't have an experience to go with them. And so this is really great for Dawn. Not only does it make the Xander-Dawn relationship less creepy to... I never really thought it was creepy because I understood like the age gap between them wasn't like terribly like a thing. But doing this, it allows for Dawn to literally be a new person. It allows for her distancing herself from Xander to feel organic, and then it allows for them coming together on their own terms, and while Dawn is literally becoming a new person who kind of doesn't have all of those old feelings that she had when she was a kid for Xander, it makes that a lot less creepy when they do come back together. And we've got Dawn, and she gets some funny stuff this season. There was this one line about, what was it? What was it? It's not global warming. Oh, climate change. Dawn was put to really good use this season. They had her tell Buffy what she needed to hear, because, you know, most of the time people aren't going to tell Buffy what she needs to hear unless they're Giles, and God knows Buffy isn't going to listen to that. We had Dawn standing up for Buffy when it came to Hank. We had her, again, saying, no, I'm not just going to go along with this because it was a thing in the old world, because I'm not from there. I am part of this new world. And she is a reflection of it so much. Like, not only does she really work to get to know herself, she also she works to get to know others. She wants to be a grief counselor because, I mean, every time she kind of like comes up with a memory of something in her past, you know, she's experiencing it for basically the first time. She's really having to suss that out for herself with her adult brain. And so for her to want to give that to others, it makes so much sense. And then, hello, like Dawn's magical key powers. What the heck? I was always like super skeptical about why Dawn didn't have powers, but then as time went on, I'm like, oh, it's so great that Dawn doesn't have powers. She's just a person. But sure, she may be just a person, but she is the key, and now we're super dealing with that, and it's fun, and it's gonna hopefully do some fun stuff for Dawn. I'm hoping that in season 11 we'll get some funny stuff about Dawn maybe subconsciously using her powers, or just hijinks. Maybe Dawn can do her own thing for a change. And yeah, we had some really great stuff for Dawn, and she really is representative of making these new rules for yourself, of being a new person, and wanting to know who that person is, and wanting to trust that person. She just went on this whole journey for season 10, and where we leave her makes so much sense. And so I'm hopeful for Dawn, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do with her fancy new key powers. And Buffy, it's her book. Like, everything that the book goes through and all of the themes that it addresses and everything that all of the other characters are going through, they're all just a reflection of Buffy herself. And Buffy really does come to decide not to just rely on the old books, because she's literally got this new book in front of her that she has to write. She can't just go asking people for, their thoughts. She has to really be inspired to make those decisions for herself. And with everything that we see Buffy go through, with her having Giles back, with her having a pretty amiable relationship with Faith for a change, for her to see Spike for what he really is and still accept him, and to understand how it is that he sees her. For Buffy to literally come up against the source of her, of not just her vampire problems, because we had that last season, but the source of her relationship problems, and then use these guys that she was in a relationship to help her defeat these relationship problems. Like, it's pretty good stuff. Like, where we leave Buffy and Angel is, like, progress, to say the least, okay? And Buffy has all of these issues with her father, right? Like, he wasn't around, he didn't even show up for their mother's funeral, etc., etc., etc. And so, like, for Buffy, she has these problems with her father that are very much her own, and she just kind of has to deal with them, and she wants, like, Dawn to have this new life. Like, she's a new person, like we just discussed, and she wants for Dawn to have this, and for Dawn to be the one to stand up and not only, say what Buffy can't say, but to understand exactly where Buffy is, because Dawn didn't ask to be born. She didn't ask to be a key who can't, like, relate to herself. And Buffy didn't ask to be the Slayer. And for Dawn, her only family, really, to stand up for her and to be the one to do that, it really does show Buffy that it's okay. Like, even your father doesn't have to be a part of your new life in this new world. Like, you can leave that behind. You can just take your losses, because it's not like he was ever there for you before. And that's not a decision that's easy to make, especially for your parents. Like, no matter how absent or present they are your parents one way or the other. But for Buffy to be able to do that, to really sever that tie with her father, it's important, and it's depressing, but it's important. Although I must say, I was kind of looking forward to some kind of mayhem happening at Hank's wedding to, what was her name, Paige? Yeah, I was expecting for something to happen there where they would actually have to call on Buffy to help them, to kind of, like, give the super irony, but they never went anywhere with that. Which is fine, because, Hank, asshole, etc. And also, she moves on from the bathroom. She leaves the bathroom as much in the past as she can, and she explains to Spike, like, hey, let's talk about this. I'm never going to be able to leave the bathroom completely behind. I go to the bathroom every day, but when it comes up, when it comes out, just listen to me. Just do what I need you to do. And the fact that she actually communicates to Spike about something so, like, internal and personal, and something that she knows is going to hurt Spike's feelings, it's nice for Buffy. She doesn't often go out of her way to hurt people's feelings or risk it. She speaks her mind, but she's kind of non-confrontational in interpersonal relationships. Also, Buffy allowing for Dawn to go and handle herself and trust that Dawn is going to be okay in Anara. It showed that Buffy has grown, and not only is she not trying to just super protect Dawn from the world, but she is letting Dawn go out there and fend for herself and defend Xander, which is, a big responsibility, but Dawn's the only one who can do it. Like, Buffy, we're always talking about, like, she's the one, like, she's the Slayer. Like, Dawn's literally the only one for that. And so it's a leap of faith that Buffy takes not only on Willow and on herself, but on Dawn. And it all worked out for everybody, and so good call, Buffy. And we just have Buffy all season, and by the time she realizes that, sure, she's been growing with all of these other things in her life, the thing that she's responsible for, she's been basically just passing off. She's like, hey, you take care of this book, y'all. And sure, she realizes it seemingly too late, but she does learn from it. She learns, like, okay, I keep complaining about all this responsibility, I better actually be responsible, right? And so Buffy, she's just Buffy, and no matter what she does, I'm just like, you go, girl. I'm like, do what you do, even when I'm not, even when I'm like, fuck you, Buffy, you're so stupid, I'm glad people are calling you a bitch, and etc, etc. Like, she's my girl. Also, we had some people come back this season. We had Kennedy show up just long enough to say, I'm here, holla back. Willow was like, oh, you want to talk? And Kennedy was like, nope, I'm busy, because Kennedy's probably been a lot busier than Willow has been this season. Who else we got here? We have Harmony and Clem. It's always great to see them. Every time they show up, they're just ridiculous. We had a new character in Vicky, who I thought we were going to have a lot more of, honestly. I'm really interested to see, and I know I'm always talking about it, but I'm really interested to see, like, the politics of the Buffyverse and how things are going out there in the human world, and, like, how the vampires are adjusting, like, legally. I know it sounds, like, stupid and super nerdy, but I really do wonder about that kind of stuff. And I don't know, like, Dowling should be there to help us with that, right? And, like, Vicky should be there to help us with that. Like, how are the New Day vampires assimilating with their transformations and all that? Like, is there any kind of, like, war between the new vampires and the old vampires? Like, that would be interesting, like a race war. I mean, it sounds awful, but that would be interesting. What else? Dracula, just keep bringing this motherfucker back. That's all I have to say about that. Olivia, it was sad to see her go, because, again, we'll probably never see her again. I do want to see Alwyn again. I hope we have to call on her for help sometime, because I don't want her to completely go away. Satsu. Raise your hand if you thought Satsu might be super dead because of the whole Battle of Twilight. Like, Satsu, they just dropped her like a bad habit out of nowhere. She was nowhere to be found in season 9, and then whoop-de-doo, she's working for the US military. I'm glad she's alive, but where were you? That's one thing I do want for season 11. I want more Slayers. I get that we're getting this character Morgan, and so I'll kind of hold my judgment on how much Slayer use we've had, but it's like, I don't know, man. Buffy created all of these Slayers at the end of season 7. They spend all of season 8 explaining why, like, Slayers don't work well together, and then in season 9 we have Buffy, like, killing Slayers. Well, I mean, Simone she was a vampire, but you know what I mean. And so, like, in season 10, like, the Slayers, some of them are off doing their own thing, but some of them are just like, where are they? For real, like, I don't know where you are. And so I'm glad we're getting a new Slayer character, but I don't want her to be a villain. I'm tired of that shit. Like, Slayers don't all have to be villains who aren't you, Buffy. I don't know, man. Like, where are the Slayers at? From the front to back. Is you feeling that? Put one hand up. Can you repeat that? What else? I'm looking here. I really do want Willow to work on, like, weaving magic and technology together. They, like, briefly mentioned that at the, like, military headquarters, but they never bring it up again. Like, honestly, why hasn't Willow been weaving magic and technology together? It's like, she would be the guy for that. Also, Willow in season 10, like, it's great, they don't do any, like, setup for, like, the future in Frey's timeline. But for season 11, I want some kind of nod toward what we see in Time of Your Life. Like, where's that shit? Like, that's something I'm really interested in. And I want there to be some, like, mythology building around the Scythe. Like, where are we going with the Scythe? Like, we got it put back together. How long is it before we lose the Scythe? That's what I really want to know. I don't need to know it right now, but like, lead us there. Like, give me some kind of clue as to what's going on. Spike, again, I hope that his job, like, takes us somewhere. I mean, whether or not we see Dowling a whole lot is really irrelevant, but I want something for Spike to do. I want Spike to have his job. Like, don't just hang out with Buffy all the time. Like, do your own thing. I want that for Spike. I think he needs to really, like, step out on his own, not into another book, but just in general. I don't want Faith in season 11. I really don't want Faith here. The book is so crowded as it is, and we've got so much to do with these characters, man, but I don't want Faith here. Ideally, like, I would love to have an all-female with Co too, Faith book. I think it would be great to have Faith, Sophronia, Lavinia, and Nadira, like, running things in Magic Town. I think that'd be awesome, but I don't know how likely that is, and I seem to be the only person who's in love with Sophronia and Lavinia anyway. But, yeah. Harmony, we've been told that Harmony's gonna be coming back. I hope they use her for something new. I hope that, maybe Harmony will help us to, explore the politics of the world and how, like, actual laws are being written in the human world when it comes to, vampires. That would be neat, and I hope Harmony always comes with Clem. I hope they're just like a pair now, but maybe they won't be. But I'm sure they will, because they know that we tune in for Clem. Like, when Clem's around, we'll tune in. Jonathan, Yonka, like I said, I don't know that we'll see him a lot, just because we're not going to have a lot of Andrew, so it doesn't make sense that we would have Jonathan around. I don't know what I would do with Giles. I mean, I have some ideas, but I mean, I don't know what they would do with Giles. And that's another reason I don't want Faith around, because I don't want, like, a bunch of erection jokes around Faith and Giles. Like, that would just get old. And, you know, I do still kind of want Buffy to cheat on Spike. Like, I want Buffy to do something wrong. I want Buffy to do something wrong in her relationship. Like, the whole thing about it is, like, it seems most of the time that the relationships that she has, she kind of is the victim in, right? Like, Spike tried to rape me. I'm done with this relationship. Riley left me. He was done with this relationship. Angel's evil. I'm gonna die in this relationship. Parker's a jerk. He wasn't even in this relationship. And it's never her fault, you know. I want something to be Buffy's fault. I mean, sure, you could say that what went down with Riley was kind of their fault because, hello, communication issues, but like, I want Buffy to do something wrong in a relationship. I don't necessarily think they should break up over it, but at the same time, like, she can't always be the victim in like a war of love. I don't know. It's kind of annoying. And honestly, I don't know if I want a new girlfriend for Willow. I want Xander to, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they're gonna go back to Xander being in construction or what. I mean, it seems like none of these people's jobs really have anything to do with what's going on in the narrative anymore. Except for Willow, when she had her government job, but that was just conveniently there to show us that the government wasn't gonna help us, so whatever. I don't know, that used to be like a pretty important thing with the Scoobies, but I guess it's not now. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I really would like to see Connor come over, unless he's going to be in the Angel book that's coming out in January, but we'll just have to see about that. But anyway, I need to get away and start editing this thing. I'm sure I meant to say more, but whatever. Basically, everybody in Season 10 was trying to stamp down this new world, and it's not going to be until Season 11 that we're going to get to play in it. I'm excited. I'm kind of nervous since it is going to be a shorter season, and I'm just, I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited. It's Buffy. Hey, I'll be here. So that's tomorrow, November 23rd, 2016. So I'll be back with a review for Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 11, Issue number 1. I hope you're having a great 2016 so far, everybody. You can come right back here to the Buffington Post anytime for Buffy the Vampire Slayer reviews. Tomorrow, Angel and Faith reviews, Buffy vs. discussions on the other Slayers, and more. I am going to finish up my Season 9 wrap-ups, and I'm going to get the beginning of Season 10 going fairly soon. Bear with me. But yeah, I'm Preston Young. Have a great day today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
I am unwritten, can't read my mind, I'm undefined. I'm just beginning, the pen's in my hand, ending unplanned. Staring at the blank page before you, open up the dirty window, let the sun illuminate the words that you cannot find.
Reaching for something in the distance, so close you can almost taste it. Release your inhibitions.
Feel the rain on your skin, no one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on your lips. Drench yourself in words unspoken, live your life with arms wide open. Today is where your book begins,
The rest is still unwritten.
I break tradition, and sometimes my tries are outside the lines. Whoa, and we've been conditioned to not make mistakes, but I can't live that way, no. Staring at the blank page before you, open up the dirty window, let the sun illuminate the words that you cannot find.
Reaching for something in the distance, so close you can almost taste it. Release your inhibitions, feel the rain on your skin.
No one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on your lips. Drench yourself in words unspoken, live your life with arms wide open. Today is where your book begins.
The rest is still unwritten.
The rest is still unwritten. Staring at the blank page before you, open up the dirty window, let the sun illuminate the words that you cannot find.
Reaching for something in the distance, so close you can almost taste it. Release your inhibitions.
Feel the rain on your skin, no one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on your lips. Drench yourself in words unspoken, live your life with arms wide open. Today is
Where your book begins.
feel the rain on your skin, no one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on your lips. Drench yourself in words unspoken, live your life with arms wide open. Today is where your book begins.
The rest is still unwritten.
Oh, unwritten. The rest is still unwritten.
Okay. My BFF. Joe? 730.